Welcome to Insights for Manufacturing, the podcast that supports the UK manufacturing sector. Hosted by Jeff Beecham, the manufacturer's recruiter. Hello and welcome to Insights for Manufacturing. I'm delighted to welcome my guest today, Jack Troutt, who is the commercial manager at Manufacturing Management magazine, and that's part of the Mark Allen Group. Welcome to the show, Jack.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks for inviting me to be on the show. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome. I have to say, you and I have sort of recently got to know each other a little bit, initially over LinkedIn, and then we had the great opportunity to meet face to face at the PPMA show yesterday. So let's get straight into the into the discussion in terms of UK manufacturing. What's the biggest topic right now that you're hearing from your audience?
I manage the magazine, so from a commercial aspect, and what it does to our readers, which we service the UK manufacturing industry. So to answer your question, Jeff, we cover a whole range of different topics. So I guess I can name you the hot topics at the moment, but we cover all features throughout the 12-month period. So the main important topics I would say would be sustainability, automation, digitalization, and labour, obviously, leadership as well.
Yeah. And there's a lot of events throughout the year. You've only got to look on LinkedIn on a daily basis. There's just challenges left, right, and centre for UK manufacturing right now. And I know Make UK have just published their findings in the annual survey, I think it was. Yeah, I think it's a bit of a mixed bag, isn't it? Really, a lot of businesses are still glass half full, but there are still some pretty hefty headwinds in terms of interest rates and supply chains settle down a little bit, but energy costs are still a huge problem. So, what are people talking about right now? To your magazine, what's the what are the big pain points? You mentioned digitalization, been around for a few years. Sustainability, skills. What's is there one that's sort of sticking out above the rest?
I guess every issue that every UK manufacturer is facing at the moment, I guess, is just as important as the other at the moment. So, like as we touched on digitalization, so I guess I'll focus on that because, funnily enough, we're holding a digital roundtable next Tuesday, and people that are going to be joining as a panelist are representatives from Made Smarter and Digital Catapult, as well as other organizations as well. And what it is that we're going to be discussing the practical steps towards digital transformation. So what does that look like from a UK manufacturer perspective? How big does a project need to be in order to start a journey? Or can you start it as a bite-size, project? How does that how can you start that journey from step one all the way through to at the end that you feel you've reached that digital transformation for your business, really? So I'd say digitalization is a topic that we're discussing at the moment only because of what the market feeds back to us at the moment. But again, I personally believe that in terms of what current issues are facing, automation, for example, is a major pressure point at the moment, where automation can solve skills such as the labor shortages that every manufacturer experiences at the moment. I would say again, automation is another sticking point. But as you know, Jeff, when we look at leadership as a role, that also has to be covered. In terms of labor and how can you bridge that gap, really? And you talked about Make UK and the work they do is absolutely fantastic, really, in terms of how they can drive more interest from people such as graduates, for example, about considering careers in manufacturing, and how they can go to school leavers as well, and how they bring that idea of how to enter an industry such as UK manufacturing, because people sometimes have the idea of manufacturing just being on site and it's hard labor, but it doesn't have to be like that. There are other aspects to manufacturing, for example, being on site, when it comes to, you don't have to be, you can be involved in back office rooms, you can be involved in from the design stage or productivity or digital stage. There's different areas you can get involved in manufacturing. And talking about Make UK, they're launching their National Manufacturing Day tomorrow as well. And we're going to have hundreds of manufacturers going to be opening their doors, and they're going to be, inviting people to explore opportunities with them. So again, that's just a really, really huge incentive. And hopefully there comes, some, well, people starting careers there, really. I wish I'd started, to be honest, looking back. I wish I considered it when I left school. When I left school at 16, I thought I had a career carved out, but here I am now, and I've been in the industry now for a few years now, and yeah, now I wish I would have known more about it then than what I do now, because people can build careers around it, and the industry has helped me build a career. So in terms of topics, it's a bit of a long-winded answer to your question, Jeff, but those are the things that are happening at the moment, just as of recent,
Yeah,
incentives that our institution that we're writing about. We want to make UK's media partners, so we're writing about, their incentives as well as Made Smarter as well. We're talking about issues such as what we talked about, like digitalization, automation, or sustainability. We're always talking about issues, and those ones are going to keep popping up. Well, unfortunately, but manufacturers are adopting new solutions, which is good, which is what we want to write about. Really, we want to write about
absolutely.
success stories.
So I mean, going back to the sustainability piece, then I was going to ask you what sort of trends or developments that you've been sort of seeing from a leadership perspective. I mean, sustainability, for me, it's not just about the whole green, carbon neutral, environmental thing. It's there's people are at
Mm,
the front and center of the sustainability issue in the first place, and
mm,
also the solution. Yes, technology has got to be involved,
mm-hmm,
but and I think manufacturing is probably one of the industries that have embraced the need for more sustainability.
mm-hmm.
These guys are, making changes to their materials, to
Yep.
their energy consumption, to their,
Mm,
manufacturing processes. But also from a leadership perspective, it's quite a complex shift in
yeah.
itself, because you've got, to be sustainable, I think in this day and age, it involves a huge amount of change to the organization, sometimes to the structure, but certainly to some of the working practices and, as I say, processes and materials. A lot of things around sustainability to make it work and to get a successful transformation, if you like, we call it a
Mm-hmm.
transformation to a more sustainable manufacturing business. You've got to get buy-in right throughout the organization. So there's that whole mindset piece, and communication is just key, isn't it? I mean, what
Mm.
sort of conversations are you hearing around, the work that leaders have to do, not just to enable the what needs to be done, but how to actually go about um ingraining this whole mindset into their workforce. What's the sort of word on the street in terms of some of those challenges?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we recently conducted a survey, actually. So we partnered with an organisation. We're actually going to be releasing the survey very soon. Actually, we're just in the
Okay.
process of drafting it up, so it's going to be exciting. That's going to explain what we done. We asked questions to our audience, and our audience is made up of, as you say, like senior leadership people within management positions, and who are tasked with improving their processes in terms of becoming more sustainable. So
Mm,
it reported back some statistics that it's explained to us that manufacturers are still not 100% sure how they're going to reach those goals, of which that's been
yeah.
set out by the government, really. So in terms of feeding that back to the workforce, I suppose there's always, it's similar to the process of becoming more digitalization transformation, really. You have to start small and then work big, haven't you? You've got to filter out where are your carbon emissions, where are they the most, really.
Yeah.
Like, you have to work out your carbon accounting as well, which is, there's various different ways of doing that through digital transformation as well. That can actually assist you on that journey. So I guess that has to be fed back to the teams on site, of which there has to be a recording of where your manufacturing process is, where they can become more sustainable. Obviously, I'm not a manufacturer, so therefore I couldn't explain to you the more technical terms
Yeah,
around that. But
absolutely.
from from what our survey told us, it said that as many as 38% of UK manufacturers have no clear net zero target, with a further
Wow.
11% unsure.
Mm,
So that tells a lot, really. That tells a lot, and it shows to me as a as a publisher, as manufacturing management, we need to do more as a publisher in
yeah.
order to feed information to UK manufacturers as to how can we deliver information, partner with solution providers who are
Yes.
key in being instrumental into trying to reach those goals of becoming more sustainable. Some companies have been really successful and they have. I guess the barriers are sometimes people or manufacturers tend to think it's going to cost more to become more sustainable.
Yeah.
And again, the cost it does come into it, which is a factor. And they don't want to change their businesses too much. Some companies are built on traditional values, and that's what they value them on. Sometimes, but I suppose when you look at it from a sustainable point of view, we have to, as an industry, have to become more sustainable. That is a given, really.
Yeah.
There's too many external factors that are now coming into play now that just shows we need to be more sustainable. So, from a UK manufacturer's point of view, I guess it's not just the leadership; it's everyone involved. Workforce, everyone has a part to play in becoming more sustainable. And when we release that report to our audience, well, to not just the audience, but to the whole industry,
Yeah.
it will show some alarming statistics that it will hopefully give people that boost that things need to happen really.
Yeah, I mean that's really interesting. I'll be very keen to get sight of that report when it's published. I mean, 38%, I think you said. I mean,
Yeah.
that's wow, that's a lot higher than I thought. I mean, I just I made an assumption, as you do sometimes, that everybody's on board with it and they know roughly what they might need to do. That really is startling. So as you
Mm,
say, everybody's got a part to play, and people like yourself, publishing organizations and some of the trade associations and organizations are all doing their bit, to create more awareness. And I guess, knowing the current state of your manufacturing business and what legislative or government
yeah.
enforced targets you need to meet, it's
Mm,
joining up those two. Really, it's that journey to take in between. And
mm,
whilst, I mean, there's quite a lot of really good sustainability consultancies out there that have got the
yeah.
know-how, the sort of toolbox, the advice, and all the rest of it, and they can work with businesses to map out what needs to happen. I suppose there's best practice that can be learned from some of the businesses that have already done it, or they're most of the way there to carbon neutral. But again, knowing what needs to be done, knowing where you are, and speaking to the third party experts
mm,
isn't the full story. And this is where I bring it again back to leadership, because
yeah.
actually doing the do in a business can create havoc if it's not sort of dealt with in the right way, if it's not communicated well up front. People have got to be convinced that these are the benefits of doing this. We've got to do XYZ, but also
Mm,
this is going to help probably safeguard jobs, because if the business isn't sustainable, there isn't going to be a future for the business. So, really everybody in an organization should be behind it. But again, it's
yeah.
down to how management and the senior leaders and the board um, articulate the strategy that individual business has,
Mm,
and everybody's part to play in that. So it really is. It's an all or nothing thing, isn't it? It's
of course it
everybody's
is.
got
Yeah.
to do their bit.
Everyone's got a part to play,
Yes.
and it's not. I suppose when everyone thinks about sustainability, I suppose people they just don't know where to start really. It's like I feel like when it comes to how we push out our information, we're always trying to make sure it's put in a way of which that people can relate to it.
Yeah.
And it's a case of, it's not just a case of right, here's how you can do it, here's how you can do it. It's more of a case of right, we spoke to this manufacturer, this is what they've done in order to achieve their goals of becoming more sustainable. And then that way it's more relatable than just a
Yeah.
case of right, this company's doing this company's doing that. we need to deliver information that is more relatable, and that's exactly what we're doing. Me and my editor Paul Fanning, we're delivering more relatable information that manufacturers can really grasp hold of,
Yes.
and it creates and at the same time we want to make it as interesting as valuable as possible. And it's just such an important topic, Jeff. I'm really passionate about
Yeah.
these topics, and sustainability is just it's just so important really for the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. No, thank you for sharing your thoughts on that. So, just before we sort of move on to another sort of topic, we've already mentioned sort of digital transformation.
Yeah.
So, from a leadership perspective, I mean, you've got the factory, the manufacturing and engineering processes.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of digitalization, in terms of engineering and shop floor, possibly design, with these factory twins and all this sort of stuff. But in terms of leadership itself,
Yeah.
how do you think the shift to because like 40 years ago, people were still sending memos, faxes, and all this sort of stuff.
Mm.
I'm old enough to remember fax machines, I have to say. But in terms of how businesses function, not just in terms of emails, but I mean in terms of sort of financial accounting, strategy, and all the rest of it. How big a part is digitalization playing in terms of leadership itself? Not necessarily factory operations, but the sort of runnings and the sort of the management skills and practices and leadership tasks, if you like. How's
Mm.
digitalization sort of impacting that side of business, do you think?
Yeah, I think it's playing a really crucial role in terms of streamlining processes. And it's not just, again, talking about production lines or manufacturing on site and processes, because it's easy to say the benefits of that. But from a leadership perspective, I feel as if it creates an identity in terms of how it lays out team management and how it can make things more efficient, between communication tools and stuff like that. When you're talking about leadership positions, I feel like that's where when you start a digital transformation process, it does technically come from a leadership person to make that important decision on where they start first and
Yeah.
what they need to work on first. So it's almost like you have to have a person within that management position to make that decision. They need to be convinced themselves is that how important is it to have it in not just in the manufacturing production line. It's more of a case of how can they put it in themselves in their management teams as well, and how do
Yes.
they and with that you have to upskill your staff as well. You have to provide training, you have to digitalize, you have to. It's not just a case of trying to make you try end human processes. It's a case of trying to implement new processes on site, and within teams as well. And that in itself, you're upskilling your staff at the same time. You're providing that overview on how they can understand more digitalization within manufacturing. So it's definitely a positive effect from a leadership perspective. It's definitely more eye-opening when I speak to manufacturers, when I go to these different events and different conferences, and they're all very much engaged with the content of which has been spoken at these conferences when you're talking about digitalization. And yeah, it is being adopted more and more. More solutions are being adopted. So it it starts from the top, really, doesn't it? And then it works its way through all the way through to the manufacturing site. So it's
Yeah.
definitely a positive effect.
Good. And talking about events, as I said earlier, we were both at the PPMA yesterday at the NEC in Birmingham.
Mm.
I'd actually been to the Interplas show next door at the NEC first, and that was my first time at Interplas. I thought it was really, really good. It's my third PPMA, I think. But exhibitions in general, within the industry, manufacturing, engineering, how well do you think the current exhibitions are being supported? I mean, there are a number of them in the UK. I know there's
Mm.
some really big ones in Europe as well. And I did hear from a couple of people doing my rounds yesterday that, there were certain players, I think it was at PPMA that were there last year, but they didn't exhibit this year because they'd done one over in, I don't know whether it was Germany, Dusseldorf or somewhere like that, earlier this year, sort of April, May time.
Mm.
And it was so successful that they chose not to exhibit at PPMA, which is a bit of a, it's a bit of a knock to the UK.
Mm,
I love the exhibitions here, but I mean,
mm.
from my point of view, uh, it's hard to judge really. I sometimes it sort of, you walk in and it looks like maybe there aren't quite so many people there. I thought the turnout was quite good. I mean, what are your thoughts on the sort of support for exhibitions, and then the sort of, what do exhibitions need to do to sustain their place in the manufacturing ecosystem? Because I think they're intrinsic. We need them.
Mm.
Um, but do you think they're fit for purpose? Have they changed enough over the years? Do people still see them as they're all the same, or does there need to be some innovation at the exhibitions?
Yeah, I mean, we have our own exhibitions at Mark Allen Group, so
Yeah,
we know firsthand what running an exhibition like, what it's like to have a UK exhibition. Absolutely, because we have our own. So, and we do have ones in Europe as well. So
yeah,
across the board. So again, reviewing it, just looking from it from a manufacturing point of view, and because we went to PPMA yesterday, I'll use that as a point of reference.
yeah,
I think you've got to take into account the feedback from the exhibitors, because as well as a show, it's always good having a show that looks really busy, but if you haven't got the right people in the room, then it almost doesn't make any sense to have anyone
yeah,
in the room. You want the important people in the room. I'd rather have, if I was an exhibitor, which I have been in the past, I'd rather have less people at a show, but have more people that are more relevant to talk
yes,
to.
yep,
So it's all about having those specific people that, and some people might have more success at other shows because they deal with all different, they offer niche solutions that might be more appropriate at a show in a different, as you say, different part of the world that might just be more receptive to what they offer.
yeah,
People have loads of different offerings, but just using PPMA as an example, I spoke to a few exhibitors. It was feedback. Most of it was positive, to be honest. It was
yes,
a case of
yep,
they were having really good conversations. They were striking up networking opportunities, and there was plenty of places to do it.
yeah,
Um, and just using as one of our own exhibitions as a point of reference as well. So we have the engineering design show, and that exhibition is actually sold out, to be honest.
yeah,
So that just it just shows there is. I think exhibitions do receive enough report, receive enough support, and long may it continue. I think if in order for an exhibition to be successful, you have to be true to what you are as an exhibition. So, for example, not throwing too many things into the mix at the moment
yeah,
when you're trying to, manufacturing can be quite broad, but you have to know what you're trying to do in order to solve issues in the industry. You can't just have an exhibition that's going to talk about all the issues what we spoke about during this podcast. You
yeah,
have to be quite relative, and it has to be quite direct, so you're approaching different sectors across the manufacturing industry, because not every issue is going to be as greater as what it would be in each sector. So for example, if you looked at automotive, they're so far ahead in terms of automation compared to food and beverage at the moment, which is just about adopting new solutions from an automation point of view. So it's all about comparing it, and that's what exhibitions I feel have started to do more of. And that's through organising more keynote speakers as well. You,
yes,
you have to have relevant people speaking at these events who are able to give a really, really good overview of how they're assisting manufacturers as well, because they know firsthand what manufacturers are, experiencing when they're trying to improve processes. So in terms of support, yeah, I think the exhibitions, you're right, they are very, very, very important to our ecosystem, such as manufacturers.
yeah,
You know, so if you're talking about it from a sales point of view, not myself, but people don't want to, try and help subcontracting, for example, or that type of view, that's perfect, because manufacturers will get really, really good good conversations with those type of people walking around these exhibitions, which you won't
yes,
necessarily get from, trying to reach out to people directly. So again, there's really good opportunities there. It's just some it's just the way exhibition life goes, unfortunately. Some exhibitions are not as good as others, but I'm thankful to be part of Mark Allen Group that runs really successful exhibitions, and yeah, PPMA long may that continue, so that's always going to have people exhibiting there because of the association of what it is and members that are what it has.
Yeah.
And yeah, hopefully manufacturing management will be the one day I want to bring our own, we used to do our own we'll say shows, we used to do our own tours and we made it into a
Yes.
show really. So
Yeah.
I want to bring that back because what I've noticed at these exhibitions as well is that there is still a need for people to see face to face. Digital roundtables and what we're doing at the moment, digital webinars are absolutely fantastic. I do think there is an opportunity where we can maybe bring a couple of those conversations into a room where we're sitting around a
Yeah.
table
Yeah.
and we ignite these conversations because sometimes UK manufacturers aren't given that voice, unfortunately, and none of them may not have that opportunity to present those questions at these networking events at exhibitions.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, I think everybody's got an opinion on stuff and can contribute great ideas and sharing challenges and best practices and what have you. But I think, as you say, digitally, like doing this podcast, we're recording this over sort of Zoom, which is great. But I think when you get people together in a person to person environment, I think that's where the proper magic happens.
Yeah.
And sometimes if you've got too many people, like an exhibition, it's a little bit like, there's just so much going on. There's
Yeah.
lots of little sort of micro ecosystems all over the place. You can see people deep in conversation, but with a sort of round table or a face-to-face sort of structured and controlled meeting or leadership type event where you've got a certain number of people there, I think that's when the attendees, because it's a smaller number, can be really dialed in to exactly what's going on. Everybody can be heard. And I think it does create a sort of special atmosphere in itself. So
Yeah.
good luck with that. And I'll be looking forward to supporting in any way I can to help you, get the message out for that.
Thanks, Jeff.
And yeah, going back to the other exhibitions, I want to give a bit of a shout out to the NEC group. I mean, they're on my doorstep anyway. I live in Birmingham, and so it's unusual for me not to be at one of the exhibitions at the NEC, but I know there are other venues, and I will be at the EDS show that you're putting on. That'll be another first time for me, so I'll be going over to Coventry, I think it is.
It is.
For that one. When is that? Just remind me, is it October or November? I can't remember now.
It's in October.
It's the October
one. It's the 11th to the 12th of October. So yeah, not only around the corner. So yeah, just looking at the dates now.
Yeah,
the year escapes us, unfortunately, doesn't it?
Yeah, look forward to that.
Yeah, 11th to the 12th.
Good. Okay, so coming back to Manufacturing Management magazine itself, how are you supporting leadership development within the manufacturing community in the UK, Jack? And are there any particular resources or insights that you provide through the magazine or website to help leaders in manufacturing?
Yeah, absolutely. We're always providing information to, well, that is our audience, people within those leadership positions. So we're always trying to provide them with information as to what can improve, within their organizations. So we're always trying to provide not just information, but just case studies, success stories, partner with organizations that I know can provide solutions as to what issues they've currently got within their teams or within their manufacturing site. So how we do that is through it's different forms of media. So you obviously got the magazine. That's our bread and butter, really. We started off as a magazine 50 years ago, so we're always going to have that. Other forms of media, such as try that through digitally, such as the website. But we also invite people to join our webinars and our panel discussions. So we're always trying to engage with people, not just through the form of sending in the magazine, but we're always trying to deliver information through other forms of media, and that's more visual, such as video interviews as well. So we organise Ask the Expert in video interviews where we sit down with members of different organizations and we're quizzing them about their organization and what they feel as if they can bring to that can assist the manufacturing industry. So there's always different forms of media where we can help people within those leadership positions. So, and obviously we also work with when it comes to organizations that can help with upskilling, for
Yeah.
example, we work with different institutions such as Make UK, one of Make UK's media partners, and they offer qualifications or courses to people within those leadership positions,
Yes.
such as training, health and safety, HR and employment law. It's all different. So we always try and make sure our information, which it is accurate and it can help. So that way people aren't just reading information for the sake of reading it because it's just because it's come across their desk.
Yeah.
It's a case of we want people to read it because it can assist them because they're in that leadership position and they've been tasked with improving profitability, sustainability, productivity. They are always given those important tasks, and we just want to be there as that we can help. Well, we can help bring people to their door that can help with those solutions. So we're
Yeah.
always trying to help people.
Okay. And in terms of keeping abreast of sort of advancements in technology, for example, manufacturing, it's as broad as it is long. Technology's changing at such a rapid rate. How do you guys at manufacturing management keep on top of what's going on? What new developments are they? I mean, you must do so. Well, I know you do surveys and things like that, but I mean,
Yep.
how do you sort of collate and get all of the sort of latest stories on what's coming onto the market?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're always trying keen to receive information such as, trying to get people to send us content that we deem would be acceptable to our audience that we feel like
Yeah.
could provide that readership. So we've got a really, really good community of people that provide content that we obviously read through. We're always receiving content on a daily, probably hourly basis, to be honest with you. And it's just the case of how we're always rotating that. We're always making sure that we're delivering content and we're keeping up to date. But not only that, Jeff, that's just a small part in the machine there. What we
Yeah.
also do is that we go and visit manufacturers on site as well. We're always trying to see what success stories they're delivering as well. So it's not just a case of we're sitting behind a computer. We are going out there. We're traveling up and down the country.
Yeah.
We're trying to get a real feel for what manufacturers are doing on site, and I feel as if we can provide that platform should they wish to shout about their success stories. We
Yes.
and one another form of how we're doing that as well is that we have our own engineering and manufacturing awards, which was only a few weeks ago, and we
Yeah.
provided a platform for people who work within the manufacturing industry to shout about their successes. We had a great entry volume of entries that came through, really competitive, really strong entries. Our judges had a really tough job of judging that, really, and our shortlist came through, and some fantastic companies made it through the shortlist. And then we had our winners. We had highly commended, and we had our winners as well. And there was
Yeah.
some really, really, really good success stories that people should be proud to, shout about. And if manufacturing management can be there to shout about this as well, again, that just provides more content so we can keep up to date with what technology is available.
Yeah.
We can keep up to date with what's been successful with other manufacturers, what could be successful with manufacturers in different sectors, what can be easily transitioned, and that's how we do it. We're always active in terms of trying to get content, so we're always we try and be at the forefront of what's happening within the industry.
Right. And as we've said, there's always room for support for UK manufacturing. And I guess, you must be, I mean, I see Greg Wallace on TV now and again with that Inside the Factory program.
Mm.
I do bang on about him sometimes. And whilst, yeah, I think he was probably better off on the old MasterChef program. I'm not sure he's the best presenter or personality that I like to see when it comes to factories, but I love the program.
Yeah.
So I've just got visions of you and your team, traveling around the UK, rocking up at manufacturing businesses and getting
Yeah,
in
yeah,
amongst
yeah.
it and finding out how they do stuff. And
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
part of
Yeah.
my role, when I'm recruiting executives or managers is, I do love visiting the business itself, yes, to take the
Yeah.
brief from the HRD or the CEO or MD, but
Mm,
to get a bit of a feel for what the company do, so I
100%.
always love a plant tour. If I could get paid a serious amount of money just for doing that, I wouldn't be unhappy, I have to say.
I'll be the same
um
boat as you, Jeff. 100%. Some of these plants and factories that the UK have is brilliant. It's just like and the technology as well. Obviously, we're talking about, when we refer back to what we discussed earlier.
yeah,
There's manufacturers that are still adopting new solutions, but we can't shy away from the fact that there are factories out there that are absolutely just top notch, really, and just producing some amazing elements, that are helping day-to-day life. It's such an important. I didn't realize how important manufacturing really is, really,
yeah,
and it's just amazing when you go on a plant tour. You just get a bit of a like, wow, this is why it's so important, and
yeah,
it's not. And people talk about manufacturing, they don't. I feel like sometimes, even when I'm talking to like friends and family, and I mention about manufacturing, and they don't work in manufacturing. My dad's a black cab driver, and my stepmom is as well, actually. So they all that none of my family come from a manufacturing background.
yeah,
But every time I talk to them, they just sense the excitement as
yeah,
soon as I get involved. They might not necessarily share the same excitement as me, because I don't feel like people externally maybe review manufacturing as such an important part of our economy, but
yeah,
now I work in the industry and have done for a long time now, it's so important, and when you're looking around, and as I say, when you go around these plant tours, it just sort of screams out like, this is why it's important. It's servicing so many different, like, all everything we use in life just comes from manufacturing. It crosses
yeah,
manufacturing, so which is why we just the magazine Manufacturing Management is what I want it to be, and what it can be, and what it is probably is now. If I'm probably being a bit biased here, but it's being a good source of information for
yeah.
UK manufacturers, definitely.
Yeah. So, so the magazine itself, you've got various resources in terms of case studies, conversations, editorial, to help manufacturing leaders improve their operations, stay competitive, become more sustainable, whatever the topics are. You're
Mm,
covering a wide range of those scenarios.
yeah,
Now, collaboration and networking, of course, are essential in manufacturing. How
yep.
does manufacturing management magazine
Mm.
facilitate more connections and sort of knowledge sharing amongst professionals in the field?
Yeah, yeah. So historically, we've always been organising, like I said before, events as such. Then COVID happened, and now I'm in the process of we've always been running digital events where we give opportunities to people to network potentially, and go down that route. However, I'm now in the process of organising. Well, I have launched an online group, which you're a part of, Jeff, and we have organised for other members to join. That's only just launched quite recently, so it's still relatively small. But I'm just giving opportunities. Trying to give back to the industry, Jeff. That
Yep.
was giving me a career, and I'm giving opportunities where people can network through an online community. And from that, I'll be looking to grow into online panel discussions, online, digital roundtables that are topical, giving opportunities for networking opportunities. From that, what we're doing at the moment, for coming away from that, we are going to be moving to, face to face as well, potentially,
Right.
moving to people where they can get manufacturers in a room together, and talk about, again, topic based conversations, so people can bounce ideas off one another, have debates as well, and have a really creative discussion on what could be successful.
Yeah.
So, and it's slightly different with what's currently in the market at the moment, but we just want to create that sense of a community feel where we can get networking opportunities available for UK manufacturers, and it's going to be up and down the country. This is all going to be in the future as well. It's all in the pipeline, really. There's going to be loads going on in the future. At the moment, what we're doing at the moment in terms of networking, we're giving platforms to people that can promote digitally,
Yep.
such as webinars, webinars, panel discussions, getting involved with advertising externally as well. So we're always giving people a voice. Now we want to move to more networking opportunities.
Brilliant, fantastic to hear. And just for the benefit of the listeners or viewers of this particular podcast that we're recording today, where's the starting point for this online community? Is it the LinkedIn group? What's do you want to just share what the name of it is and how can people get initial access or join?
Yeah, absolutely. So the LinkedIn group is it's a membership led group, so you have to get access to join. The only reason for that is because we just don't we want to create a community feel, which is we want to give people that are relevant within the community that work within the industry. It's not just a case of everyone joins and
Yeah,
talks about absolutely everything. We want to make sure that it's relevant for anyone who wants to get on the platform and speak. So it's on LinkedIn. It's called Manufacturing Management Talks. And we're advertising it in the magazine. I'm also going to be promoting it digitally as well. There's going to be various different ways of which can be promoted. We've got up to roughly 50 members now, so and that's quite a good fast growing rate. So yeah, again, it's just trying to create a community feel.
brilliant. Well, I look forward to seeing how that all develops. I'm sure there'll be some really good conversations and relationships formed through that community. So so well done you for launching that. Okay, so Manufacturing Management Magazine, you cater for different needs of managers and leaders in manufacturing. But so I suppose you've got the seasoned professionals, and then you've also got your up and coming managers and people maybe new to a director level role or coming from supervisory into the sort of management stable, if you like. How do you make sure that you sort of catering for the needs of everybody within that? Because leadership and management is a very broad
Yeah.
demographic, isn't it? So how do you strike the right chord with that?
Yeah, cool. So that's why we covered it. That's why we have features, Jeff, in the magazine.
Yep.
We're always putting features that cover a whole range of different topics, really. So that's why we want to try and touch on every different point, that's throughout the course of the year. So it's not just a case of which is focusing on different say that wouldn't necessarily, say for example, like a person in a leadership position may not necessarily relate to, but someone who's working on site within the production line still in a senior position might find more use of getting that information. So it's just a case of having those features and sticking to those features so that we are servicing our audience correctly,
Yeah.
really. So that's why we want to make sure that the content is diverse, it's inclusive, so everyone in manufacturing can find something relevant in whether it be a magazine or online, because we're always updating online on a daily basis. There's always a need to keep refreshing and keep engaging with us, because there's always a topic that's going to be based within manufacturing when it comes to writing content.
Yeah, absolutely. Good. So how can our podcast listeners stay connected with your magazine and I guess your website and access all this valuable content that you're and resources that you're putting out? Do you just want to sort of shout out the relevant website address or?
Absolutely. So in terms of the website address, so it's manufacturingmanagement.com. So you can register to the newsletter online via our homepage. You can register to receive copies of the manufacturing management via digital and also print as well. In terms of content, follow us on LinkedIn. We've got all our social media platforms as well, such as Twitter. So we're always updating our readers, not just on the website, but also on LinkedIn. There's always going to be a notification coming from us if you were to follow us on social media. But also, I'd highly recommend getting registered to our content. If you provide us with your email address and a few other bits of information so we can keep in contact with you, we'll always keep in touch when it comes to creating content for you.
Brilliant. Okay, well, thank you very much for that signposting to the vital places to get the information. It's been a pleasure to speak to you again today, Jack. It's been a fascinating discussion. Take my hat off to you for the hard work that you put in promoting manufacturing and the work that you do to support leadership as well, which is my sort of backyard, if you like, for my day job. So that pretty much wraps up today's episode. I hope the audience have enjoyed the discussion. Thanks again to Jack Troutt from Manufacturing Management. Thank you for listening, and look out for the next episode of Insights for Manufacturing. See you next time, and bye-bye.